Hello guys, what is up? It's Lukey here back with another Warframe video, and in today's video I'm gonna be talking about how the Tenno got their powers. But before that I gotta say huge spoilers for the new war, cause I'm gonna be talking about two new characters that was introduced in the new war, so if you haven't played or seen it or just don't care, you have been warned. Now then, I hope you enjoyed this video. Okay, now then let's talk about how the Tenno got their powers, and I gotta say I don't think it was the man in the wall that gave them their powers. I would explain this later in this video, but first let's talk about the Tenno Powers. As we know, it was believed that the Tenno got their powers from the void, and while this is still true from playing the new war, one can surely say that there's more to the story, as we see that in the new war our operator shook the hands of Wally, aka the man in the wall, to seemingly give the drifter powers. Now then, like I said, I don't think it was Wally who gave them their powers, so with that being said, I have a clip that I would like to show you from TennoCon 2021. As you guys can see, the Tenno are on the Zariman, and this is looking familiar, like that scene from the new war, where the Tenno took that test and then after completing it the Zariman got hit by a void storm. Now then, as you guys can see in this clip, the Tenno are acting weird, cause one by one they began to float in midair. Now you might be asking me, Lukey, what does this have to do with the Tenno getting their powers? And to be honest, I thought the same thing and was about to delete this clip if only this wasn't said.
So this is a scene from the Zariman, the colony ship, where where the incident began.
Now what DE Steve said was interesting, and I hope you guys can see why I showed you guys this clip, but just in case you guys don't understand, let me explain. Now then, when he said this is where the incident began, two incidents jumped to my mind. The first thing is when the Zariman gets hit by a void storm, and the second thing is when the Zariman was rediscovered by the Orokin. They only found children on the ship and no adults, as we know the adults on the ship after it got hit by the void storm turned feral and started hunting for the children, and the children were forced to kill the adults on the ship in order to survive. Which leads me to believe that DE Steve was talking about the second incident and not the first, cause if you are traveling in the void you are bound to encounter one or two void storms here and there, and judging by how things played out in the new war makes sense for it to be the second one. Now then, this isn't the definitive way in which proves how they got their powers, but judging by what DE Steve said and how the Tenno were acting, you can surely see why I showed you guys this clip, because it proves that it was more than just the void that gave them their powers. Alright, so now it's time to talk about Wally, aka the man in the wall, and why I think he didn't give the Tenno their powers. First off, let's look at his personality. Wally to me seems like he's mischievous rather than chaotic, to me at least, cause if he was all for chaos he would have been more involved in the story. For example, let's look at Clarion, aka the Witch Boy from DC Comics, who happens to be a Lord of Chaos in Young Justice Phantoms, which I recommend you watch. In the show, Clarion does things for his own amusement, and this is a little spoiler, but he's the reason why Atlantis sank. And if you compare his personality to Wally, you can see why I say he isn't chaotic. Now I understand that DC and DE are two separate companies and have different writers, but I can surely say if Wally was chaotic, their personalities would have been similar, at least in my opinion. And if we look at someone like, for example, Loki from Marvel Comics, as we know is called the God of Mischief, you can see their personalities are very similar. Granted, Wally is more sinister than Loki. Now then, let's look at his characteristics. To me, Wally does things for a reason. For example, in the Apostasy Prologue quest, he leads us to the Lotus in Valis, where we saw the two of them leave Lua together, and the Lotus abandons the operator. And in Chapter 1 of the New War Prologue, we see Wally lead us to Valis to see what is his fate, where he gave us the Paracesis, better known as the Sentient Slayer, before the New War quest came out. Okay, so before you say this doesn't explain why Wally didn't give the Tenno their powers, let me ask you this: why would he give another person powers like the Tenno when he already has the operator? To me, this doesn't make any sense. Also, if you rewatch or replay the New War, you can see that Wally didn't give the Drifter their powers. Instead, what he did was make the operator responsible for all other Tenno's fate throughout the multiverse, or whatever Warframe is calling it. Also, let's talk about the Drifter first off. The Drifter doesn't seem to be who he says he is. There are two main incidents that lead me to this assumption. The first one of them is when Ortis asks him about using the void abilities. He says this:
"This would be a lot easier if you could use that old, Tenno magic. How did you use it?"
I didn't. More like, I don't have it yet.
Which seems seems odd how he knows he's gonna get void powers. The second thing is how his arm glows like Wally arm did when we shook it in the arm of the Lotus, which was chopped off by Valas in Act 1 of the New War. To me, this is proof that something isn't right and we should keep our eyes on the Drifter. Okay, so you might be asking, okay, so if it's not Wally, then who gave the Tenno their powers? And to that I say it's this. No, not the mask, the face on the mask, which is this character. I believe this is the person that gave the Tenno their powers. Because not only is he the guy in which the mask was made in his image, but judging by how he looks, I can surely say that DE probably has a character model of him, and I can see him making an appearance down the line in the story. And this isn't to say that Wally didn't give the Tenno their powers, but instead to say that there's more to the story, and I believe we will definitely know more when Plains of Derviri comes out, but until then this is just speculation. And with that being said, we have come to the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Peace and stay safe.